You ever get that feeling like someone's watching you? Not in a creepy way, more like in a way that makes your skin tingle. That kind of subtle awareness that someone's paying just a little too much attention when they think you're not noticing. Yeah, that was Jordan. I met him through my ex. Well, technically, through my ex's new boyfriend. They all played on the same rec soccer team, and one weekend there was a barbecue, and I showed up because I didn't want to look like I was still pining. I wasn't. Not really. Jordan was loud. That's the first thing I remember. Not in an annoying way, just magnetic. The kind of guy who walks into a room and everyone leans in a little closer. He had this confident energy, always cracking jokes, riling people up, pulling attention without trying. Tan skin, lean frame, dark curly hair that he let grow out just past his ears. Total golden retriever vibes. Not my type. At all. I've always gone for the quieter guys. The nerdy ones. The ones who overthink everything. Who like slow mornings and playlists with sad acoustic guitars. Jordan was the type to drink from the bottle, laugh too loud, and call people dude, unironically. So imagine my surprise when he started talking to me. Like, really talking. It started with the chips. "No way you're eating the last Cool Ranch," he said, leaning over the picnic table with mock horror. "There's, like, 3 left, and you didn't even bring any." I looked up, mid-bite, deadpan. "Guess you should have gotten here sooner." He grinned. "You've got a smart mouth, better than a loud one," I muttered, and then immediately regretted it. But Jordan just laughed. "All right, goth boy, I see how it is." I wasn't even wearing black that day, but the nickname stuck. That was 2 months ago. What I didn't expect was that he kept showing up. Even after the barbecue. Even after the season ended. He'd find ways to slide into group hangs, always managing to sit across from me or next to me. He'd tease me for not drinking beer, for ordering oat milk in my lattes, for listening to Mitski in the car. I'd roll my eyes, call him basic, but he never got offended. He liked the back and forth, and somewhere between arguing over whether Coldplay was underrated and helping him carry a TV up 3 flights of stairs, we became something. Friends, maybe. But there was a weird edge to it. He'd FaceTime me at 11 p.m. to ask which cologne made him less punchable. He started tagging me in TikToks of cute animals and hot guys who look like me, which he claimed was a coincidence. One time I texted that I was sick, and he showed up at my apartment with a box of Capri Suns and frozen dumplings. Then made me watch The Princess Bride while he sat a foot too close on my couch. He flirted like a guy who didn't realize he was flirting. Or maybe he did. I couldn't tell. I asked our mutual friend, yes, my ex, what Jordan's deal was. He just laughed and said, "Oh, that's just Jordan. He's like that with everyone." Right. So I decided to let it go. Until the night everything changed. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had work early Friday, and I'd planned to stay in, eat leftover pad thai, and pass out by 10. But Jordan texted at 8:13 p.m. exactly. Emergency. "I need your opinion. Come over." I told him I was in pajamas. He said that was fine. He was shirtless. I don't know why that made me go. His place was a mess, worse than usual. Clothes everywhere, 3 empty Red Bulls on the counter. Music playing from his laptop, something thumpy and electronic. "What's the emergency?" I asked, stepping over a pair of soccer cleats. He turned around from the mirror, holding 2 shirts. "Date. I need a second opinion." That surprised me more than it should have. "You're going on a date?" He nodded. "Blind date. My coworker set it up. Said the guy's my type." I couldn't help it. "What is your type?" He paused. "Don't know. Guess I'll find out." I tried to hide the twist in my chest by grabbing a shirt. "This one." He took it, tossed the other on the bed. "Cool. You're coming." "Wait, what? You're my emergency exit?" If the guy sucks, I need an excuse. You'll text me with a fake emergency and I'll be like, "Damn, my friend needs me," and bounce. You're good at drama, right? I should have said no. I should have told him to grow up and handle his own awkward social situations. Instead, I went, and that's when things really got confusing. The place Jordan picked for his date was one of those vibey, low-light wine bars downtown. All dark wood and indie jazz and waiters who looked like they modeled part-time. I wore a hoodie and jeans because I wasn't planning to impress anyone. Jordan, meanwhile, cleaned up dangerously well. Button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to the forearms, slim black jeans, hair a little messy like he'd styled it with his fingers. He looked good. I hated how much I noticed. We sat at the bar for a few minutes while waiting for his date. Jordan kept bouncing his knee under the counter. "Nervous?" I asked, pretending to be casual as I sipped my soda. He shrugged. "Kinda. I haven't been on an actual date in, months. I'm more of a vibe first, ask questions later kind of guy." "No shit," I muttered, earning a grin. "Anyway," he said, stretching. "If he sucks, you're blowing up my phone in 20. Right on cue, a guy walked in, tall, sharp jaw, kind of that artsy finance bro energy. Jordan lit up when he saw him. "Cool," he said, standing. "Wish me luck." "Break a leg," I said, voice flat. I sat alone at the bar, picking at some olives and pretending I wasn't watching them across the room. Jordan laughed a lot. He always did, but I couldn't tell if it was real. The guy seemed fine, nice enough, good looking. They even had matching watches. Why the hell was I still sitting there? After about 30 minutes, I got up to leave. I didn't want to be the weird friend third-wheeling someone's gay date night. I figured I'd text Jordan a good luck message and bounce. But before I could hit send, I heard someone behind me. "Hey, Jordan." He looked frustrated, lips pressed tight, eyes not meeting mine. "That was fast," I said. He nodded, pulling me aside near the coat rack. "Yeah, I'm done." "What happened?" He seemed normal. "He was fine," Jordan said, rubbing the back of his neck. Normal job, normal opinions. Talked about his dog and oat milk and how much he loves Succession. Perfectly average. I blinked. "Okay, so?" "I don't know, man. I got bored or something." He looked at me finally. "He wasn't you." I felt my stomach drop. "What?" Jordan shook his head, like he couldn't believe he said it. "Forget it. That came out wrong." "No, wait. What do you mean he wasn't me?" He looked away, jaw clenched. "I don't know. It's just, I thought I was into guys like him, and then you came over and made fun of my shirt, and picked the one I liked anyway, and I realized." He trailed off, exhaling slowly. "I realized I didn't want him to be cool. I wanted you to be there the whole time." We stood there in awkward silence, the muffled jazz buzzing from the speakers above. "I thought you were straight," I said finally. "I thought so too," he replied, until I met someone who made me want to rethink all my dumb assumptions. My chest tightened. "I was just supposed to be your backup plan tonight." Jordan looked down, then met my eyes again. "Maybe I was just looking for an excuse to see if you'd come." There was something raw in his voice, something unsure, something that didn't match the loud, confident version of him I'd grown used to. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to hug him. Another part wanted to run. Instead, I asked, "What now?" He smiled, small and careful. "You want to go get fries and talk about how I ruined a perfectly good gay date night?" I laughed, nervous, unsure, but honest. "Only if I get to mock your cologne again." "Deal," he said, nudging me gently. We stepped outside into the cool night air, walking side by side, closer than usual. We didn't touch. Not yet. But something had shifted. And neither of us tried to pretend otherwise. We ended up at this grimy 24-hour diner on the edge of downtown. The kind of place with sticky menus, fluorescent lights, and waitresses who've seen some shit. It was Jordan's idea. "I need curly fries and a reality check," he'd said, "and this place has both." We slid into a booth in the back, under a crooked Elvis poster. Jordan ordered a chocolate milkshake and fries. I got black coffee, even though it was almost midnight. For the first 10 minutes, we talked about anything but what had just happened. Fries. The bar. How the waiter looked like a retired magician. It was easier to laugh about nonsense than dive into the weird electric space between us. But then Jordan stopped mid-bite and looked up. So, are we going to talk about this? I stirred my coffee. Talk about what? He gave me a flat look. Dude, I sighed. I don't know. Are you sure you're not just having a moment? Like, maybe it's just because your date sucked. Jordan shook his head immediately. Nah, I've been feeling this way for weeks. I blinked. Seriously? Yeah, he said, looking weirdly nervous. And I kept brushing it off. Like, nah, can't be into him. He's too serious. Too moody. Too into sad girl music. You mean me? Exactly, he said, smiling. But then I'd catch myself thinking about you. Like, if I saw something funny, I wanted to text you. If I had a shit day, I wanted to tell you. Even when I was with someone else. I sat back, heart hammering against my ribs. This is insane, I muttered. I know, he said, but it's also real. For me, anyway. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My brain was stalling out. You don't have to feel the same, he added quickly. I didn't want to keep pretending this was just bro stuff, because I don't feel that way when you look at me. And I don't think you do either. He looked away, drumming his fingers on the edge of the plate. I could tell he thought he'd said too much. He hadn't. You're not wrong, I said quietly. His head snapped back up. I just didn't think this would ever actually happen, I added. Jordan stared at me for a second and let out a soft laugh. Honestly, me neither. There was a long pause. The kind where something unspoken floats between you. Heavy and stupid and meaningful. Then he said, So what do we do now? I shrugged, smiling despite myself. Finish these fries, figure the rest out later. And he grinned, wide and warm, like I'd just handed him the universe. The check came. Jordan grabbed it before I could protest. Let me get this one. I technically made you my emotional support sidekick for a bad date. I owe you. Damn right you do. Outside, the air had cooled. It smelled like rain and fried food and city pavement. We stood on the sidewalk for a second, both of us hesitating. Walk you home? He asked. You live 10 minutes away. He smirked. Still, gotta protect my goth boy. I rolled my eyes, but I let him walk me anyway. Halfway there, our hands brushed. Neither of us pulled away. When we got to my apartment building, we both paused outside the door. It was quiet, late enough that the neighborhood had that soft, sleepy stillness, the kind of silence that dares you to say something. Jordan shoved his hands in his jacket pockets. So, you gonna invite me up? Or am I stuck loitering on your stoop like a desperate ex? I snorted. You're not even an ex. Yet, he said with a smirk. I rolled my eyes but opened the door. Inside, the elevator was out again, so we took the stairs. Jordan didn't complain, though he did pretend to dramatically die after the third flight. By the time we reached my floor, both of us were slightly breathless, but not just from the stairs. My place was dark, save for the glow from a lamp I'd left on in the corner. Jordan walked in like he'd done it 100 times before, because, honestly, he kind of had. He tossed his jacket on the arm of the couch, toed off his sneakers, and looked around like he was searching for something. Then he turned back to me. You're quiet, he said. I shrugged. Just thinking. About how weird this is, how normal it feels, even though it shouldn't. He nodded. Yeah, I get that. We stood there for a moment, not touching, not saying anything, just staring at each other in this weird suspended space between what we'd been and whatever we were becoming. Then Jordan stepped closer. Are you gonna kiss me? He said, his voice low and teasing. Or are you just gonna keep looking at my mouth like that? My heart practically stopped. I wasn't. You were. I didn't argue. He was right. So I kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't slow. It was this clumsy, breathless collision, like we'd both been holding it in too long, like we were testing something neither of us was brave enough to say out loud. He kissed back instantly, hands finding my waist, then the back of my neck. His body pressed against mine, warm and solid and entirely too familiar in a way that suddenly made my knees feel unsteady. When we finally pulled apart, we were both a little dazed. "Okay," Jordan said, breathing hard. "Yeah, that was... wow." I just nodded, too buzzed to say anything coherent. He chuckled. "I didn't think you'd actually do it." "Why?" "Because I figured I'd have to make the first move. You're all broody and controlled and mysterious." "I'm not mysterious," I muttered. He grinned. "Oh, you totally are." We stood there, awkwardly close, our hands still halfway between touching and not. "Can I stay?" he asked, a little quieter this time. "Not for anything crazy, just... I don't want to go back to my place. Not tonight." I didn't answer with words. I just grabbed his hand and led him to my room. He didn't ask questions. He didn't make a joke. He just followed. In bed, we lay side by side, fully clothed. Nothing dramatic. Just there. His fingers found mine under the blanket. Not a bold move, just a soft touch. A steady presence. After a few minutes, I felt him shift closer. "You awake?" he whispered. "Yeah." A pause. "I meant what I said," he murmured. "This isn't just a one-night thing for me." "I know," I said. "Me either." He squeezed my hand once, then let out a breath that sounded like relief. And in the darkness, with the sound of the city outside my window, Jordan fell asleep, right there next to me. I woke up before him. Which is weird because I'm usually the one who needs 3 alarms and a death threat to get out of bed. But that morning, I was wide awake. The sun hadn't even fully risen, just a soft orange glow leaking in through the blinds. Jordan was still asleep next to me, half on his stomach, mouth slightly open. His curls were a mess, and his arm was draped across my pillow like he'd meant to hold me but passed out halfway through trying. I just stared for a while. Not in a creepy way. Just trying to process that this was real. Because something about seeing someone like that, vulnerable, quiet, unguarded, does something to you. Eventually, he stirred. Blinked his eyes open. Squinted at me. "You're staring," he said, voice scratchy with sleep. I smirked. "You drool when you sleep." He wiped his mouth instinctively, then rolled his eyes when he realized I was kidding. "So," he said, sitting up slightly, "are we going to pretend last night didn't happen? Or are we actually going to talk about it like adults?" "I think we've crossed the pretending threshold," I said. "Cool," he nodded. "So, what are we?" That question hung in the air like a heavy balloon. "I don't know," I said. "We didn't exactly ease into this." He leaned back against the headboard, pulling the blanket up around his waist. "Yeah, we kind of sprinted past all the awkward stuff and kissed under diner lighting." "Romantic," I said. Deadpan, he grinned. "I try." We sat in silence for a minute, and then he said something I wasn't expecting. I was scared. I looked at him. "Of what?" "Of wanting something I didn't understand," he admitted. "Of how you'd react. Of how I'd react." I let that sit for a second. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Me too." He looked over at me, eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. "But I'm not scared now. Not with you." And that messed me up a little. Because all my life, I'd been the guy people liked being around, but never chose. I'd always been the best friend, the confidant, the background character in someone else's story. But Jordan was sitting here, in my bed, telling me he wasn't scared because of me. I didn't know what to do with that, so I just said, "Okay." "Okay," he repeated. "Yeah," I nodded. "Let's figure this out." He smiled, slow and wide. "Yeah, Let's. He leaned in and kissed me again. Slower this time, less, I want you, and more, I see you. Afterward, we made coffee in the kitchen. I wore the same hoodie from last night. He didn't bother putting on socks. We looked like a couple, felt like a couple, but neither of us said it yet. Later that day, he texted me from work. Still thinking about that kiss. Also, your coffee sucks. I replied. Still thinking about how you slept like a log and stole half my blanket. Also, bring oat milk next time. He sent back a heart emoji. I stared at it for a long time, because even though we hadn't said the words out loud, I knew something had started. Something real. It didn't take long for the people around us to start noticing something was different. Jordan and I didn't exactly go public. No declarations, no holding hands in front of friends, no matching couple posts, but we also didn't do a great job hiding it. We just started gravitating toward each other more. At parties, he'd find his way next to me, even if we arrived separately. At group dinners, he'd always make sure I had the seat beside him. His jokes changed too, less teasing, more soft. He still called me goth boy, but sometimes his voice lingered on it, like it meant something new now. I wasn't sure how to feel about the shift. It was good, really good, but also new, and delicate, and terrifying in a way that had nothing to do with fear of being out, and everything to do with the fact that I didn't want to get my heart broken by someone who didn't even know what he wanted yet. And one night, after we'd been watching Netflix at my place, half asleep on the couch, he dropped the question I'd been quietly dreading. You're not just a phase, right? I didn't even look at him. What? He shifted beside me, pulling his legs up onto the cushions. I mean, I don't want to be something you try out and then get over. My stomach twisted. Where is this coming from? He shrugged. People talk. Who? Doesn't matter, just I want you to know this isn't some experiment for me. I'm not trying to figure things out or get a gay badge or whatever. I'm here. I'm choosing this. I turned to look at him, really look at him, and he was serious. Eyes soft but focused. Voice calm, no joking, no nervous laugh. Just him. Jordan, unfiltered, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. I wasn't worried about that, I admitted. Not really, but I was scared you'd get bored, that I'd be too much of a shift from what you're used to, or that you'd wake up one day and miss dating girls and go back to the life that feels easier. He leaned forward, rested his head on my shoulder. I don't miss it, he said quietly. I just didn't know this was an option. My throat tightened, and maybe that was the moment I let my guard down completely. We stayed there for a while, tangled on my couch, breathing in sync. Neither of us said the L word. It was too soon for that. But something in me cracked open, just enough to let him in. After that, we started building something that looked a lot like a real relationship. We still weren't shouting it from the rooftops. But when he grabbed my hand at a quiet park once, and didn't let go even when someone walked past, I realized we didn't have to. We were figuring it out, together. A few weeks later, Jordan invited me to his cousin's birthday party, his very straight, very bro-y cousin. The kind of event with beer pong tables and acoustic guitars and guys in backwards hats talking about CrossFit. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be the friend or the friend, but I said yes anyway. I figured if we were doing this, if he was serious, then showing up mattered. We drove there together. The ride was quiet, music low. Jordan kept glancing at me at stoplights like he was about to say something and kept changing his mind. When we pulled up to the house, he finally asked, "You okay? Are you?" I shot back. He cracked a smile. Weirdly, yeah. I just haven't brought someone I'm seeing to anything like this before. I raised an eyebrow. So you are seeing me? He rolled his eyes, mock exasperated. Yes. You're my goth boyfriend. It's canon now. Don't say canon. You sound like Twitter. He laughed, and just like that, the tension broke. Inside, the party was everything I expected. Loud, messy, chaotic. But Jordan stayed close. Introduced me as just My friend, but never strayed far. Our elbows would brush. His hand would find the small of my back when we moved through crowds. No one really questioned it. About an hour in, I stepped outside to catch a break from the noise. Jordan followed, a minute later. "You doing okay?" he asked, standing beside me on the porch. "Yeah," I said. "Just needed air." He nodded. We stood there for a while, watching some guy drunkenly try to light a grill with a beer in one hand. Then Jordan said, "You ever feel like you're trying to live two different lives at the same time?" I turned to look at him. "I feel like I'm one person when I'm with you," he said, "and someone else around people I've known forever." I swallowed hard. "Yeah, I know that feeling. I'm not ashamed of you," he added quickly. "I just don't know how to unlearn who I've always been." I stepped a little closer. "You don't have to be sure. Just be here." He looked at me like he wasn't sure what he'd done to deserve that answer. And then, right there on the porch, surrounded by straight chaos and party noise and too many string lights, he kissed me. It wasn't a big kiss, not even a long one, just a soft press of lips, quiet and unshowy and real. When we pulled apart, I saw one of his cousins staring from the window. Jordan noticed too, but he didn't flinch. Didn't apologize, just turned back to me and whispered, "Screw it, let them talk." That night, when we got back to my apartment, we didn't talk much. We just curled up in bed, limbs tangled like they were made to be there. And right before we fell asleep, he said, "Thanks for waiting for me." I didn't say anything back. I just held him tighter. It's funny how quickly something becomes routine once it feels right. Jordan started leaving his hoodie at my place, then his toothbrush, then half his protein bars ended up in my cabinet. He'd crash on my couch some nights and just never leave. It stopped being my apartment and started feeling like ours, even if we hadn't said that out loud. He'd still pretend he wasn't paying attention when I made playlists, but a week later I'd catch him humming Mitski or trying to make jokes using Phoebe Bridgers lyrics. He started leaving notes in my sketchpad, bad doodles with captions like, "You up?" and "Hot Goth BF Red Heart." I'd tease him, and he'd act wounded, but never stopped. One night, he said something that stuck with me. We were lying on the floor, lights off, music low, just talking. You know that kind of talking you only do late at night, when your guard's down and the world feels small enough to hold in your hands? He said, "I don't want anyone else to know me like this." I turned my head. Like what? Like how you know me? Like this version of me that laughs quieter, that breathes slower, that doesn't have to be the loudest guy in the room. I didn't say anything right away, just let that land. Then I said, "I like that version of you." He nodded. So do I. After that, things didn't get perfect. That's not how life works. He still had moments of doubt. I still had walls I didn't realize were up until he ran into them. But the thing was, we worked through it, together. We had our first real fight over something stupid. He forgot to text me that he'd be late, and I spiraled because I thought he was ghosting. He showed up with flowers from a gas station and a written apology that said, "I suck, you don't. Let's keep kissing." I forgave him before I even read the note. One night, while brushing our teeth, he looked at me in the mirror and said, "You know I love you, right?" I nearly spit out my toothpaste. "You what?" He rinsed, turned to me, totally unfazed. "I love you. Just thought I should say it before you do. Gotta keep my streak of being first at everything." I rolled my eyes, but I smiled. "I love you too, dumbass." We kissed, minty and messy and exactly right. Months later, I'd wake up next to him, curled under the blanket, our feet tangled, and I'd think about how none of this was ever the plan. But it was better than anything I'd planned, because the loud boy who teased me for oat milk and called me goth boy turned out to be the guy who made me feel the safest I'd ever felt. He wasn't just my roommate's friend, or some confusing flirtation. He was my person. And yeah, maybe it started with stolen chips and sarcasm, but it ended with something I never thought I'd find. Us.